Constructing Success, a Morris Model Analysis of MD Steele
by the Office Avengers!
To start, here's an overview of the presentation. We're going to start with the introduction to the Mars model, then move on to the history of the Mars model, and get into the introduction to MD Steele, which is the company we'll be looking at, the problems at MD Steele, model applications to the issues, solution to the problem at MD Steele, and finally, the challenges and limitations.
The first part of the Mars model is motivation. Motivation represents the forces within a person that affect direction, intensity, and persistence of effort for voluntary behavior. The first force is direction. This refers to the path in which people steer their effort. This means that motivation is more specifically goal-directed. It doesn't just randomly appear. Many people make choices and decisions about what they are trying to achieve, and they choose the level of quantity, quality, and all the intricacies. Next is intensity. This refers to the amount of effort used to accomplish the goal. Intensity is all about how much people push themselves to complete tasks. Many employees can be motivated to complete their goals with a realistic time frame, this being their direction, but only a few of them will put forth enough effort to achieve their goal, this being their intensity. And the last force is persistence. This refers to the length of time that an individual continues to exert effort in the hopes of completing their objective. An example of this would be employees who continue their efforts despite difficulties that they face throughout the process.
The next component of the Mars model is ability. Ability refers to the aptitudes, learned capabilities, and habits that allow someone to be successful in the workplace. For example, even if someone has high motivation, a lack of ability can hinder the performance in the workplace, making it a significant component of the Mars model. Aptitudes refers to the natural inborn qualities that make learning and performing tasks easier. For instance, someone with high numerical aptitude will pick up calculations and financial analysis easier than someone who wouldn't have high aptitude. Learned capabilities are the skills learned throughout education, training, and experience. These are not inborn qualities and are developed over time. Habits are the automatic behavior we rely on when making a decision. They require little to no thought and are actions of intuition. These intuitive thoughts can support job expectations when they align. However, when they don't align, they can easily conflict with procedures or standards of role requirements. Together, aptitudes, learned capabilities, and habits all shape an individual's overall ability, influencing how well and efficiently they can complete their task.
Now moving on to role perception. This is another important factor along with motivation and ability because employees need accurate role perceptions in order to perform their jobs well. Role perception is about how clearly people understand what is expected of them in their organizational roles. These perceptions mainly relate to role clarity and role ambiguity. In order for employees to work effectively, they need to understand specific duties they're responsible for and the consequences tied to those responsibilities. Role clarity and ambiguity is shown in 3 specific situations. The first one is when employees know exactly what they're responsible for and how they'll be evaluated. You think this would be obvious, but it's not always the case. Sometimes people get judged on the tasks that were never actually mentioned in their job description. Secondly, role clarity is shown when employees prioritize tasks based on the level of significance and considers what the company values most. Without these clear priorities, employees might contribute to meaningless efforts. Finally, relating to our last point, it is important that employees know how the organization prefers tasks or behaviors to be performed. Tasks should be completed based on the company's preference to avoid confusion. Overall, when employees understand their responsibilities, priorities, and procedures, they can work confidently and effectively, reducing role uncertainty and improving overall performance.
I need this done by lunch.
Ready how? Clear it, prep it, organize it?
You know, the usual way.
What does that even mean? I guess I'll just organize them.
No, it's all wrong. You're supposed to edit the documents.
I didn't know. Your instructions weren't clear.
Now this is an example of bad role perception.
Instead, she should have gave clear instructions.
The last component of the Mars model is situational factors. Situational factors are the external conditions that shape an individual's behaviors and performance, and they're often outside a person's control. Even someone who has high in motivation, ability, and role perception can struggle if their environment creates barriers. An example of these barriers may be in the workplace, such as managers either supporting or limiting employee performance. If employees don't have the right tools, such as facing deadlines or working in unpredictable conditions, their performance can drop. This is not due to a lack of effort, but because their situation is a factor that is limiting them. When the environment is organized with clear instructions, it is much easier for employers to perform their task well. Another barrier is workplace cues that guide behavior. Policies, leadership signals, team norms, and even the layout of a workspace act as reminders of how employees are expected to behave. These cues quietly influence people's actions, motivating some behaviors and discouraging others. And my question to you, does workplace cues influence your behavior?
To understand the Mars model, we first need to look at where it came from. This framework is primarily attributed to two leading organizational behavior scholars, Stephen McShane and Marianne von Gounod. They popularized the model in early 2000s through their highly influential OB textbooks, bringing it to standard academic discussion and practice. Now you might think, why create a new model? Well, because there are limitations with the old ones. Old theories relied on a rather simplistic formula like this one. Performance equals ability multiplied by motivation. But managers knew this wouldn't work. These older models often fail to explain why a smart, highly motivated employee might still underperform. This is where the Mars model comes into play. Stephen and Marianne created Mars model to synthesize decades of psychological research, combining all known influences on behavior into one single comprehensive framework that we can all easily remember and use.
About MD Steele. Since establishing in 1993, MD Steele has maintained their reputation for fairness, reliability, and innovative workmanship. MD Steele builds projects in 4 different ways depending on what the client needs, whether it is a design, bid, build system, which is a system in which the owner signs one contract for design services and then later runs a competitive bidding process to pick the construction contractor, or construction management, which is the professional management of a construction project from start to finish, including planning, budgeting, and scheduling to ensure it's delivered on time, on budget, and to the expected quality, or a design build system, which is a system where design and construction responsibilities are combined and carried out by one contractor under one agreement, or finally, customized solutions, which are products, services, or strategies created to address unique needs for a client instead of relying on a standard one-size-fits-all solution. No matter the method, they work closely with trusted subcontractors and use their experience to make sure every project is planned well, built properly, and delivered the right way. Some familiar bridges MD Steele has worked on that you may know involve the Provencher Bridge, St. Andrews Lock and Dam, or Osborne's Bridge over the Assiniboine River.
We interviewed the president of MD Steele and identified 3 main problems the company faces: stress, communication issues, and situational factors. First is stress. Construction is naturally a high-stress work environment for employees in the office and out in the field. Stress can be an issue because every employee has different stress management styles. Some are great at managing the stress, and others may hide the stress, and some may get overwhelmed and agitated, which has caused issues in workplace behavior and performance. Second are communication issues. In the construction industry, bad communication can impose a high risk on the project, time-wise and financially. Not everyone has the same idea of communication. What you say to your coworker may seem clear on your end, but it may be unclear to the person receiving the information. And the small miscommunication happens every day at MD Steele. Coworkers in the same role, such as 2 workers in office, may have smaller risk of miscommunication because they have similar codebooks, but coworkers in different roles, such as an in-office employee and a field employee, are at a higher risk of communication issues. Third are situational factors. Timelines can be a stressful situational factor. In construction, some parts you need to build in the winter, and some parts you need to build in summer. Delays in the schedule due to weather and seasonal changes can set back the whole project. Another situational factor relates to the stakeholders, such as the government, province, and public, that are reliant on MD Steele. Finally, difficulty finding work, especially during the winter season, is a situational factor. There is high competition for contracts, and employees will have an imbalance in workload. These situational factors will affect employee behavior, performance, and motivation. Knowing these problems that MD Steele faces, how can we apply the Mars model to improve performance across the organization? We know that motivation, ability, role perception, and situational factors shape how employees behave and perform. So what about the other components of the Mars model? On the left side of the model are individual characteristics such as personality, values, self-concept, perceptions, emotions, attitude, and stress. These characteristics influence the 4 Mars variables and help determine whether an employee is the right fit for the role. On the right side are the behavior and results, including task performance, organizational citizenship, counterproductive behaviors, retention, and attendance. Picking someone with the right fit of these 6 individual characteristics increases the chance of high motivation, ability, and role perception. Similarly, lacking any of these 4 Mars variables can lead to poor outcomes. So this is why it's essential that MD Steele selects the right individuals and provides support to nurture these variables, ultimately increasing behavior and overall performance.
Alright team, our survey shows that motivation is dropping. Let's fix this before motivation goes out the window.
Agreed. Time to strengthen the M in Mars.
First, clear your smarter goals. People need to know what the mission actually is. Yes, please. My goals are basically do good things.
And we boost effort with praise. People work harder when they feel seen.
Let's do weekly shoutouts. Everyone loves a spotlight moment.
I have a solution. For long-term motivation, you can implement rewards, breaks, and check-ins to increase momentum.
Honestly, I'd work twice as hard if I knew there was a reward at the finish line.
Perfect. Smarter goals, more recognition, better rewards, and motivation upgraded.
So what's today's crisis?
Employee abilities. Lots of theory, not enough confidence.
Hey, I study the machines. Using them, that's a different story.
Josh visualizes layouts well. Give him better software and he'd be unstoppable.
Exactly. Match tasks to strengths and suddenly performance skyrockets.
Let's run weekly trainings. Short, practical, not boring.
Short, consistent practice builds real capabilities.
We should help new hires repeat tasks until they become second nature.
Repetition equals confidence.
I'll take all the repetition I can get.
Strengths, trainings, habits. That's how we upgrade ability.
Team, we've had project delays. People are not clear on their roles. It's time to clean up the R in Mars.
On site, everybody's unsure who does what. We need guidance before the disaster, not after. We'll fix that by giving precise feedback, tasks, and expectations.
We've also got communication problems between the construction and office teams.
They speak tech, we speak corporate. Sometimes it feels like they're speaking in riddles.
Easy fix. Cutting the jargon will make sure everybody actually understands the instructions.
Clear feedback plus clear communication equals better role perception. Let's put it into action.
To address these situational factors, although MD Steele can't directly control the external factors, they can control how they react, monitor, and evaluate these weather conditions, stakeholder demands, and seasonal workload fluctuations using technology and optimizing scheduling. The solutions presented in these skits can directly strengthen communication, the biggest problem we identified at MD Steele. Smarter goal setting creates structured conversations about tasks and timelines, ensuring both managers and employees have the same understanding. Ability-focused training provides clearer guidance, reducing confusion about task expectations. Role perception improvements reduce miscommunication by simplifying language, removing jargon, and clarifying responsibilities between office and field staff. These solutions build a more consistent communication system, reducing the small but frequent misunderstandings that slow down projects. Next, clearer expectations and improved communication reduce stress. Employees feel more confident when they know what is expected and when they receive proper support and training. This helps prevent behavioral problems caused by stress. Finally, by using technology and optimizing scheduling, MD Steele can respond quickly to disruptions, adjust timelines, and redistribute workloads when needed. Clear communication about these adjustments also help teams stay aligned and adapt smoothly when situational factors impact the project.
Even though Mars is a great model, it has a few problems we need to flag. Number 1, the math is too strict. Mars says performance is the 4 factors multiplied together, M times A times R times S. This means if one factor is totally missing, performance should be 0. But in real life, a super motivated person can still do a decent job if the other areas aren't perfect. The formula is just too absolute. Number 2, it misses the root cause. The model focuses on the 4 immediate factors, but it skips the big stuff that creates them, like personality. Why is someone motivated? Because they are naturally disciplined. Mars doesn't account for these core traits that determine if you even have the motivation or ability. Number 3, role perception is subjective. The hardest factor to use is role perception. It's tough to measure. Your employee might think their role is X, but you, the manager, think it's Y. Since everyone's perception is different, this factor is tricky to accurately manage and fix.
In conclusion, we introduced the Mars model and its components, used those components to identify one of MD Steele's challenges, and then found solutions by applying the Mars model. The end.
Thank you so much for watching.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Smash that like button.
Hit the bell for notifications.
See you next time. Peace out.